We have the afternoon here in Kanazawa to explore and take photos and make the most of our time. I cannot believe there's only like a week left in this Japan trip. Absolutely crazy how quickly things fly by. So let's go explore. So Kanazawa, I think, is totally underrated. This city is calm, it's quiet, it's cool, and this waterfront with all the cherry blossoms is really, really beautiful. There's also a castle here and what looks like a really, really cool park. So that's where we're gonna go right now and see what else we see along the way. This is like an important town for like samurai and ninjas. So there's like a samurai and ninja temple. I'm not sure we got time to see that, but we'll see what we see. So I mentioned samurai, I mentioned ninjas. This town is also famous for geishas. And there's kind of like districts, different neighborhoods, and they call this the geisha neighborhood. And all these restaurants at some point in history hosted geishas, and I think they still do, to be honest, in this area. So it's now kind of like a touristy street. I mentioned the samurai thing. Here you can actually rent samurai clothes and ninja clothes. We see people all over Japan right now wearing kimonos and going out and taking photos. I really should rent this samurai costume and just walk around town. Just made a stop at this garden. There's all sorts of these like little houses that have gardens here in Kanazawa, and this one's famous for its traditional green tea. And apparently there's like a hut in the back that does a very, very traditional green tea. The tea was good, the experience was cool, and I think now we're gonna leave this little garden and go check out the massive garden that's just kind of that way. Jody, who's my resident encyclopedia, told me that there's over 200 types of like cherry blossom trees. This one, whatever one of the 200 this one is definitely the pinkest. So Jody's got a ton of work to do, so she's probably gonna leave us, sadly, for the afternoon, but we're gonna stop quickly at the castle as well, and then this is probably where Tyler and I are gonna stay and hang out and shoot our photography tonight. Looks like there's a bridge here, some cherry blossoms, and yeah, it's busy at this spot specifically, but it's not overwhelmingly busy anywhere except for this spot that I'm filming right now. So the interesting thing about this park is I think the kid's small child just bit the dust in the background. The interesting thing about this park or this castle is I think the gates are actually more photogenic than the castle itself. The castle's there, we're in the park in the foreground of the castle, and the park itself closes at 6, which means no sunset shoot. But we're gonna hang out here anyway. I think I'm gonna have a park nap because I'm really tired. Let Tyler shoot a hyperlapse and then we'll find a spot to shoot sunset. So we just refueled with coffee, and when we did, we just got hammered by some really cold winds right now, and it's turned gloomy. It looked like there was hope for sunset. The hope looks pretty gone. But I want to talk about something right now. I want to talk about what I like to call the travel photography rut. And what the travel photography rut is, it's basically when things stop becoming exciting for you. And I think that it's hard to explain. When you first get to a destination, the first couple days, everything's exciting, everything's interesting, everything, you just want to shoot everything, you want to photograph everything, you want to see everything. And then the longer you spend time in places, the more normal it becomes. That dude that just passed us wearing a hat, day one, I would have been so excited by that person. The first time we saw cherry blossoms, we had macro lenses out, we had the long lenses out, we were taking like hundreds of photos. Now we're like, oh yeah, there's cherry blossoms there. The first time we saw a woman in a kimono, we were so stoked. We had like the lenses, we were like chasing them around, like poaching them, hiding in corners. Now we're like, oh, it's a person in a kimono. That's the hard thing about travel photography, is not allowing yourself to fall into the normal, to fall into a gap where you start thinking everything is normal. And I kind of feel like right now I'm in that gap in Japan. It's been amazing, it's been unreal, we've got cool photos, and it has been absolutely incredible. But I think, yeah, definitely in the rut. Now, the way I've always worked to get out of the rut is by going somewhere else. I tend to stay in places for 3 weeks because by the end of 3 weeks, that's when kind of the rut tends to kick in. The other way I get out of ruts is by hitting just one epic sunset. And sadly, we haven't had an epic bit of light at all in Japan. I've been here now for like 25 days and we had one sunset with good light the whole time. Now, that being said, I don't want to sound like a spoiled brat or anything like that. I absolutely love it. I'm still loving Japan. I think that if Japan was cheaper, it's the type of place I could probably live. Yeah, just feeling a little bit ruttish today, and these gray skies that just hit us aren't really helping. But we're gonna head back to our photo location and set up gear and see if we can get a photo shot before the rain hits. It's raining just a little bit, but we're trying to make the most of it. This spot with the red lanterns and the cherry blossoms and kind of this bluish sky from the early blue hour looks really nice. And even though the light's not great for other things, we're making the most of it by shooting some portraits of myself. I still have to get a bunch of images for Eddie Bauer. My contract's for like 12 images over 3 months, and I think so far I've only done like 4 or 5. So I've got to get some images. This is one of the images I wanted to get. So I'm gonna model myself, have Tyler shoot them off, and I'm just gonna pose along these lanterns. I think it'll come up pretty cool. I wish Jody was here just because she's better looking than I am, but I'm gonna have to make do for this shot. So this is the shot that we've come up with, or it's really the best shot, I think, of here at the castle gates. You got lots of cherry blossoms there. The one thing though, when we scouted this location out, we were like, oh, this is the perfect shot if it wasn't for this pillar. This pillar is some sort of monument, I think, and it kind of killed the image, or we thought. But now when I set the tripod to like a vertical frame, it works kind of well, and I don't hate it anymore. The other thing is, I don't hate the light anymore. The light looks bland to the eye. It looks gray and dreary and flat, but it's actually really soft, and it's turning out kind of blue, even though it's just early blue hour, and that blue contrasting the pink of the cherry blossoms, it's kind of nice. It's a good way to kill the blues. I'm shooting just a 30-second exposure, 6-stop ND. There's a 3-stop soft grad ND on it, and yeah, as I said, it's coming out kind of nice. I'm just grabbing one more image before we go, and actually loving the scene. Just because you have the cherry blossoms in the foreground, the castle doesn't look super impressive, just because it's small on the wide angle, but I like the subtlety of it. And the way I've composed this shot is entirely using all the rules of composition and then kind of breaking them at the same time. So I've got the castle basically at the rule of 2/3 up in the top right hand corner, and I'm using this bridge to just lead straight towards it. Now the reason I'm breaking the rule of thirds is because I've got a massive wasted space in my image, and normally wasted spaces are bad things. In this case, I think it works because it's this cherry blossom, and when you're shooting, you really have to think about your clients. And a lot of clients, advertising clients and things like that, they need open spaces, blank spaces in the images where they can put text. And somebody asked me why I shoot vertical so much. Why do I shoot the vertical composition so much when quite often the landscape orientation looks better? And the reason is for clients. If you think about it, back in the day, magazines are shaped vertically. So if you wanted a cover image or to fill a page, you needed that vertical image. You also needed some wasted space at the top that they could put text, like Nat Geo or whatever the magazine title was at the top. Nowadays, with the use of cell phones, with everybody using cell phones, they still want things to be vertical. For example, on Instagram, if you put a wide angle image in, it fits this much. If you put a vertical in, it fills an entire frame. There's more image on the screen. So that's why vertical is so important, and that's why wasted space isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, I think that's it. I think that's totally it. This has been a fun shoot, despite having a bit of the travel photography blues earlier in the day today. And I'm gonna call this a day, call this an episode. Tomorrow, we're headed towards snow monkeys. See you there. Peace.